Welcome back, guys, to Factorio Towns Season 3 with me, Massive Dynamic. So, in this episode, we're going to build a new town. We're going to build it right about here, right close to this coal mine. And we're going to need a plastic town. So, I've decided to name the town Stewart. And the reason is, if you haven't seen Martha Stewart lately, she's 82 years old and she looks like she's made of plastic. So, I don't know. She's been in the news lately. She keeps popping up on my feed. And so, I guess she was on my mind. And so, that's the name of the town. So, we're going to be located right here, which is going to be our southernmost town so far in the towns. And we've got a nice coal patch there. So, we've got everything we need. So, we're going to head over there. And in the meantime, I'm going to roll the intro. So, I'll see you in just a few seconds. Alright, so we're on site, or at least in the vicinity, and we go ahead and start doing all the pre-work, the earthwork, I guess you would say, in the construction industry, if it was real life. Clearing the trees, making way for the road, well, the road in this case being obviously the rail line. Getting everything ready for the real work of building the town. So yeah, there was a little bit of a pond there, a little small, I guess a pond. A pond. I've looked up the definition of pond and lake to see if there's a real definition, and it really seems to be kind of up to the user. You can either, it's a small body of water, or a body of water that's basically an inland body of water. Whether or not you call it a pond or a lake is up to you. Typically, ponds are thought to be smaller, I think, at least colloquially, and lakes are larger than ponds. But you know, what do you call a big pond? Is it a big pond or a small lake? I don't know. But anyway, that's what we had there near the track. So I just wanted to fill that in. That way, it's really less of an issue and not worth discussing. But since we started down that road, we went with it. Also, some of my decisions you'll see throughout my town series, and really all of my Factorio series, don't make much sense. For instance, in most of the towns, I've only used like one or maybe two of these minor little huts. But in this, whatever reason, in this town, I used 5 of them. And so I used 5 minor huts and 4 lanes of coal. I don't know why, because 4 minor huts would produce 4 lanes of coal. But I used 5, so whatever. There's no rhyme or reason for it. It's just whatever. I mean, I really do kind of work by the seat of my pants here, fly by night, as you might say. But anyway, once I get all that done, then I begin the work of setting up the actual production of the plastic here at Stewart. And so we use a level 2 Factorissimo building. And as usual, the first thing I do is put the icon on the rooftop so that everybody knows what's being made here. You know what I did forget to do, though, is make like a sign for the town. But I will get to that later, I guess. And also, I didn't put a tattoo down either. But all those things will happen in time. Once we get to Spidertron, we'll have a dedicated Tattoo-tron that'll go around doing all that work anyway. But yeah, I kind of laid out where I thought the inputs and outputs would go, and then it was time to set up the track. I kind of have a pattern that I use, in that I lay out the structure, general structure of how I think the assembly machines are going to lay out inside of the town building, and then the next thing I do is figure out where I want the trains. And then I work kind of back. You know what I mean? I work out to the in or in to the out. I don't know, one way or the other. I need my 2 points, my beginning and my ending, and then I do the middle last. If that makes any sense. A lot of people like to start at the beginning and work their way to the end. I'm just not that way. I like to know where I'm going before I head out, and I like to know where I started from before I get to the end. That doesn't make any sense at all. Unlike, no, not unlike most of the things that I say. But anyway, we go ahead and we only need really one input here, and that is the petroleum gas, because we have the coal existing on site. And the reason I went that way was because the coal mine that we have already in the towns is way in the far north of the towns, and it supplies all of the coal to the power plant, because we still have a coal-fired power plant, and the early furnaces, and yeah, it's got like 5 or 6 trains running there. So I didn't want to have the main plastic, which is going to be used for I mean, this plastic is specifically for low density structures, possibly red circuits, but as of this moment, it's for low density structures, because that's going to be our next project after the plastic. But anyway, I didn't want it to be reliant upon coal that was far away and also heavily trafficked. So we did have a dedicated coal plant here. And if ever it becomes an issue where we're running short on coal, we have a couple of extra train stops that we can install where we can import our coal. So that is all pretty well worked out. I think of all the towns that I've made so far, this one is probably the most well thought out. Even if the mining is kind of silly with the 5 mining huts. But anyway, once that's all worked out, then we go ahead and set up the gas train, because we had a train sitting over there at Baton Rouge that was already full of gas. So all we had to do was assign it a station. And that's going to help out anyway, because Baton Rouge was kind of clogged up with too much gas. Kind of bloated, actually. I know that feeling myself, and it's rather uncomfortable, so I was glad to relieve that problem. But anyway, once that gas comes, then we can start making plastic. And while we were working on this connection here, I don't know if you can see him, but the Bigfoot Commander showed up, and yeah, there he is right there. We had a small little chat about how things were going in the towns, and he said, you know, everything was cool. Even talked about I don't know if you noticed, but there's a biter's nest just to the west of where our crossing is on the tracks, where we put in our intersection. And he said that those biters would stay over there and wouldn't bother us. So I'm taking him at his word. So we're just going to go ahead and build this town and not have to worry about the biters over there. So hopefully that all works out in the end. And then once again, we start to add the, what are these called? Chemical plants to make the plastic in. And I thought about the math on this to make a yellow belt. I always forget, is it 8 chemical plants to fill a yellow belt, or is it 16? So I erred on the side of too many, and I went with 16. And that way I thought, well, if I do upgrade to red belts, then I think I'm okay. And, you know, it'll be fine. Either way, it'll be fine, because, you know, right now we're not worried about underproducing or overproducing. We just want to have the stuff that we need. And we want the trains to be able to deliver the materials so that we can get our research done. That's the main goal. And right now we need those low density structures, because there's a lot of things that we are looking for that rely on low density structures. So that's our main goal right now. We have plenty of copper, we have plenty of steel, and so really the only thing we needed was plastic. And I didn't want to take the plastic from our plastic plant that's over at Slick, because that's where we make our red circuits. And I didn't want to take a chance on slowing our red circuit production. It's already kind of slow there. I need to speed it up, but just haven't done it yet. We have a few ways that we can use to speed it up. I just haven't employed them yet. mostly because I want to concentrate on moving forward, and less sort of maintenance stuff and more just forward motion is kind of my goal. So we put in a couple of tanks here, 3 to be exact, so that we can bring in the gas. So we'll have 4 tanks on the outside, which is where the train will unload, and then 3 tanks on the inside. So this should provide a very steady flow of plastic as long as we can keep those tanks full of gas. And I think we should be able to, with the supply that we have at Baton Rouge, it should not be a problem, but we'll see. Oil is always an issue in Factorio Towns. Really, generally speaking, all of the items in Factorio Towns are an issue just because of the way we distribute everything. So, we have a lot of trains waiting to fill up in order to make deliveries, and particularly in Season 3, because we're using dedicated trains for each town. So we have a little bit more wait time, I think, on trains filling, which I think may require more towns in the end. I don't know. I haven't really done the math on it. It's just the feeling that I get, because typically when I did towns, I would use one train to supply several towns. And so the trains would kind of make a circuit where it would drop off some material to the red and green science town, and then drop off, say it was iron, drop off some iron at the red and green science town, and then it would go to another town like Green Circuits and drop off some more iron there, and then go to maybe another town, drop off some iron there, and then return back and fill up with iron and make that circuit. So there was kind of an issue where we were having small deliveries at the towns, but in this series of Factorio Towns, if you haven't noticed, I'm having dedicated trains where a train will go from the iron smeltery to the destination town, and that's its only path. So that brings up a whole other issue, and that being that now you have trains waiting to be full in order to return, and so you may have 4 towns waiting on one iron smeltery, and that means 4 full trains. And so far, like I said, I haven't put enough mining huts at these in these towns to really do that. So there's upgrades required, but we'll get it all done eventually. We're not in a big hurry in Factorio Towns. Speed is not our game. Our game is making a really cool world, and I think that's what we're achieving here. And I do like the addition of the Factorissimo mod in this particular playthrough, so I hope you guys are enjoying it too. We're just about to wrap up the last of the construction here on the plastic, and we needed just a couple more of these chemical plants, and that will finish it off. Yep, just a couple more. I had to handcraft a couple of them because I ran out in my backpack. So I need to refill my backpack in between episodes, but that's not a big deal. That's something that will get done. So once we get this last chemical plant in, then that will be the end of it. And it's looking pretty good right now. We've got everything we need. Now we just have to get the train loaded. So we just use our typical train loading kind of strategy that we're using. The 4-way splitter. We've got 2 outputs, which can, obviously, like I just said a second ago, everything can be upgraded easily. So all we have to do is either slap down another one of these buildings, or we could even do some, add another building inside of this building, and that would do it too. And yeah, recursion, that's the word I'm looking for. That escaped me for a second. But yeah, either one of those strategies would work, but right now this is doing plenty of plastic to fill up our train. And alright guys, so there it is. That's Stewart Plastics down here in the southern end of the towns. We need plastics, as we said, in order to continue to process towards yellow science and toward the rocket. We need specifically, we're going to need plastic for the low density structures, which is probably our next major item that we'll be building before we can get yellow science going. So here we are. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll throw down the radars, and that'll be the end of the episode. So hopefully we'll see you in the next episode. I hope you're enjoying the towns as much as I am. And if you haven't tried towns yet, then I suggest you give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. It's a completely different way of playing Factorio. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.